Hello, this is Kenneth Gaucher from Morehouse College, assistant professor in the computer science department. Just wanted to give you all a demo of the project that is being proposed to collaborate between myself, Dr. Jolando Jackson, and the WE Lab, and with the Wisconsin Surgery Department. Here you'll see a prototype that I've developed. We have a virtual patient named Nancy, and she's had some back pain. And what this prototype does, it shows the technology that we have at Morehouse with embodied conversational agents. So what this demo is actually going to do to start is it's going to give a series of questions that a potential medical school student would want to ask this virtual patient about a particular illness that she's having or some symptoms that she's has come across. So this would be a version of replicating the history. So we'll hit a button here.
3 months ago.
So we asked Nancy when did the pain start, and she told us 3 months ago. We're going to ask her how did this come on.
It gradually started over a few days on and off.
So what we do is we have a series of questions that we would ask Nancy, and she would provide an answer to. With these answers, with these questions and answers, we have the flexibility to take certain questions off. We have the flexibility to add questions. I can see a scenario where we had a tool where certain questions maybe the ones that we really should ask, where other questions may not be important to ask. So I can see a scenario where we build a version of this where certain asking the right questions will get you so many points, and asking incorrect questions would have actually make you lose points. Or it might be a situation where you have a series of questions, but you only get to ask a limited group of questions in order to get the answer that you need. If we scroll down some, we'll also see here potential diagnosis. So in this demo, the student has the ability to predict what the potential diagnosis would be based on this patient history. So as they ask questions, we could build a back end such that a student would need to basically adjust these sliders based on the response they're given. The good thing about this is that it eliminates the possibility of a lucky guess, and it also gives I guess what you would call a clearer feedback into what that person knows. So if someone asks us a particular question, and they get a particular
Yes,
answer,
it was like this, but it went away gradually after the child was born.
a certain response may make that that student feel, okay, well, I think it's more likely that this is the diagnosis and less likely that that is the diagnosis, and we can actually have a back end created so that they get points for making sure that they adjust their slider after each question or specific questions there. Another feature we have is an ability to run tests. So in a sense, what would happen is that there'll be a series of tests that that student can run with that person based on the questions they get from the history. So if you can imagine, if a student says, well, hey, I want to run an MRI, then it'll be a pop-up on the screen that shows the results of the MRI. So based on those results, that student can then go and give feedback on what they think the diagnosis is based on that particular test run. So some really cool things we can do with this. One might be the order that the tests are run. So I would assume that if you need to, you might end up doing an MRI, but you might decide that, hey, an X-ray might be the thing to do first before you would do an MRI. Or some tests may not make sense to do at all. or some tests might be used only if another test showed a certain sign or figure or result. So we can also grade a student based on their ability to run tests. Another cool feature we have to conclude is a video diagnostic summary. So I've embedded a plugin called Camera Tag, and what Camera Tag is basically a website where someone could use their video camera and actually record a response and upload a video from their laptop or their mobile device. So I'm going to demo this up. Record from webcam. So this is me waving to the camera. So it gives me a countdown. And here, what's really cool about this is you can essentially, the student can give a response and a summary to, hey, this is my diagnosis that I have, and this is why I picked this diagnosis. I picked this diagnosis because these tests showed this. I got these answers from the assignment. Maybe here are some questions that I've had. Maybe here are some things I was confused about. So someone could video record themselves doing this. And here, what's really cool about this is you can essentially. So you see here for the user, for the student, it's going to replay the video. I can accept this video here, and this video is published now. So what happens is the video that we made is going to show up here, and this camera tag operation here is loading. So you see it just got sent. So what this is, what we can do here is that there are some coding that we can do where, and here what's really cool about this is you can, so there's some code that we can do on the back end to make this where a professor would actually get an email from the camera tag application directly to their inbox with this summary closing video, or that video can be sent to somewhere else, so that the professor could grade that student's their diagnosis. And essentially the student would have to almost kind of present or defend their diagnosis and what that diagnosis was. Or if it's something where it could be multiple diagnoses, can kind of say why they think this is the diagnosis, or that's the diagnosis. They could say, okay, well, maybe based on the information here, there might not be a clear diagnosis. It might be two things it could be, right? So they could be, okay, well, I think it's these two things. How I would figure out if it's option one, or diagnosis one, diagnosis two, is if we do this additional thing that might not be present on this actual tool itself. So I think it opens up a lot of possibilities to what can be done in terms of surgery education, and health education as a whole. Anything, other questions that you have, I can make myself available to answer. And thank you for viewing this demo.